Yo, 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 what's good? What it do? What it look like, peoples? You know what this is. You already know what this is. It is time for pre-market pulse scan with yours truly, Dex, the algo capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave price trigger reports that we put in your hand each and every trading day. You know how we do. You know what we do. Smash that like button. You know, we got to get these likes up. Let me know that you guys love me, and that you are benefiting from these lives. We do it for you, man. I do it for the trading room. I do it for the people. And I do it for the love of it. I absolutely enjoy, love doing this for you guys each and every day. And that's just like the old saying. If you love what you do, then you'll never work again a day in your life because it's not work. It's joy. I derive joy from it. And that's why I do what I do. All right, for the love of it, man. For the love, for the love, for the love. No love, then you're not going to hang in there. And that's with anything. If you don't really love what you're doing, you're not going to stick around when things get a little dicey, when things go left, when they get a little difficult. You're not going to stick in there. You're just not going to do it because you don't like it. You can't wait for for an out, if you will. All right. We still have a lot of things to go over. It's so much. The news just keeps coming. There's so many topics, so many things that are converging, that are coming together, coming to a head. Multiple topics, all converging at one data point. And that data point happens to be the markets. Everything before you even have a chance to figure everything out. Everything converges back onto the markets because money and sex rule the world. You can pretty much follow the money and it'll lead you to everything else. There seems to be a monetization tied to just about everything that you can possibly think of. So if you follow the money, it leads you to places that you otherwise would have never have even thought to look. So I find that really interesting, to say the least, when you really study, like, all right, how did we get here from over there and things like that. It's just a really interesting exercise, to say the least. But nevertheless, we are here, and you got to deal with the here and now. And the here and now says that you need to open your eyes and get ready because, yeah, things are about to get a whole lot more interesting. All right, so we've been dealing with a lot of things over the past couple of episodes, and today's no different. I will say this though, I've been in this lab like non-stop, and my spidey senses are tingling. It's looking like, I can't say for certain just yet, I'm still looking into it, but there's a possibility of a huge algo shift coming. Monumental one. A nasty one. And I'm just checking because it's looking like this could have global ramifications and cause ripples that turn into tsunamis. So I'm still looking into some of this, and I will begin to share what I know as I break open the Easter egg and see what's inside. But first and foremost, let's get into these overnight markets before we go anywhere else, because you know me, I tend to go on these tangents and then I don't stop. So it's just what it is, man. All right. Give me just a second. Okay. All right. First and foremost, overnight markets. Okay. Dow is down 209 points at 25,811. Couldn't hold the $26,000 handle. The NASDAQ 100 is down 27 points at 10,169. When I say NASDAQ, I'm talking about the NASDAQ 100 E-mini futures contract. E-mini S&P 500 is down 20 points at 3098 and 3/4. The Russell, it is consolidating and whipsawing all around, doesn't know what it wants to do, what it wants to be when it grows up. If it has a chance to grow up, it's down 14 points at 1420.2. Bitcoin Futures Composite Index, a lot weaker, down 250 bucks, trading at 94.10. We did hit 92.65 in the overnight before overcoming and bouncing off of that low point. I did warn about that. These crash alerts are starting to play out. Nat gas is unchanged at $1.62. Crude oil, $40 a barrel even, down 37 cents. Long bond down 330 seconds at 176.27. That's 176 and 27 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, how can you have your bond market down with the stock market being down? Remember what I told you, the Fed has broken the markets. The correlations have broken down. The bond market was designed and enhanced to be negatively correlated with the equity market, so that when the equities are down, the flight to bonds for safety would be the play, and also the flight into gold. Well, bonds are down right now, and so is gold. Gold is off $3.40 to 1778 and 60 cents after being up. The overnight high is 1796 and 10 cents. All right, just coming $4 shy of that 1800 mark. Overnight low is at 1775.20. Is gold about to sell off? Silver down 32 cents at 1773. Couldn't hold the $18 handle. Silver has been having a big problem with the $18 handle, ladies and gentlemen. This is going on for quite a while now. Silver is struggling. US dollar index is bouncing off of its low point. It's up 31 pips at 96.95. Euro dollar down 40 pips at 112.93, which is what it's supposed to be doing. Pound sterling is also off 40 pips at 124.88. The Aussie is off 28 pips at 69.09. Canadian dollar up 22 pips at 135.70. Euro yen is off 14 pips at 120.30. And the dollar yen is up 19 pips at 106.74. And the Kiwi is off 63 pips at 64.31. All right, so soybeans catching a little bit of a bid, up a quarter at 8.75 and a quarter. All right, so it's up a quarter point. Corn is up half a point at 325 half, and corn is unchanged at 486 even. All right, so you would have thought that the grains would be down a little bit more than that the dollar is up at 30 pips. Okay, but it's not happening. Your grains are trying to stay green here, which means they could be basing out and preparing for a rally. Perhaps a demand issue is coming into play. We'll have to watch that closer to see. All right, here's the overnight market news. All right, so global stocks plunge as investors weigh report on U.S. considering new tariffs on the EU and the UK. Washington's new threat is not the kind of thing investors want to hear as they fret over the threat of a COVID-19 second wave, an analyst said. So you're dealing with the China US trade deal, which is, in my humble opinion, collapsed. Now you're talking about putting tariffs on the EU and the UK. So basically, the US is saying, we ain't got no friends right now. We ain't got no friends. I see what y'all doing. Y'all about to jump me. Y'all about to line me up. All right. Yeah, that's exactly what it's looking like. It's looking like the US is getting lined up. The US could slam tariffs on $3.1 billion of European goods or products like olives, beer, gin, and planes on the list. A Tuesday notice by the U.S. Trade Representative said it may levy tariffs on products such as airplanes, yogurt, beer, to name a few. It's not healthy to have people buying stocks for fun, billionaire investor Howard Marks warns. The day trading boom reminds him of the dot-com bubble. If stocks are being held by people who believe that they only go up, I think that bodes ill, the Oak Tree Capital boss said. All right, let me explain to you what happens when you have billionaire hedge fund private equity dudes talking about the market. Okay. Since when have you ever heard hedge fund dudes, private equity dudes, billionaire dudes, even like Warren Buffett, complaining about markets going higher? You would think because you were taught, you were miseducated, unfortunately, to buy low and sell high. You thought that was the game. That was only part of the game. All right. So they're betting on that. There's an old saying that when you get Wall Street people talking, they usually talk their book. If you hear these billionaire dudes talking negative about a bull market, do you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? You should know. You should know. You've been with me long enough. For those who've been with me long enough, you know what this means. What does it mean? No one's raising their hand? Okay, I'm going to call on somebody. Zora Rosa, what does it mean, man, in the live chat? Come on. What does it mean? What does it mean when these billionaires are talking smack about the bull market? When supposedly they make money the higher the market goes. What does it mean? What up, Nathan? Zora is struggling. Do you have the answer, Nathan? What does it mean? How about you, John, in the live chat? You got my answers? How about VW? You got the answers? Because somebody got the answer. Come on. All right, fine. Time up. It means that they are net short the market. All right. Now we got something. These big dudes are net short the market. Yes, indeed. Yes, Kramerica and Carl. Yes. Yes. They are short the market. And they're trying to talk their book. And they're hoping that because their name carries weight, that people will catch the cue and step out of the way, stop buying so the market can fall so they can make their money. I'm here to tell you that these crash alerts that come out with these PulseWave reports are no joke, just like the rally alerts aren't. But when these crash alerts come up, it's because the system is picking up sneaky shorts in the market. All right? Sneaky shorts. The system is always right. These shorts are activated in these markets. Therefore, you can expect a major algo shift coming, and it's going to be an avalanche of selling. All right. Maybe even a tsunami of selling. Don't get wiped out, fam. Don't get wiped out. All right. Position yourself accordingly. Follow the reports and you'll do just fine. All right. And when in doubt, ride the weeklies out. Okay. When in doubt, ride the weeklies out. In a COVID era, everything unfolds at warp speed. Yale economist Roach warns the dollar could dive 35% against rival currencies. Stephen Roach said in an interview with Market Watch, "I do think it's something that happens sooner rather than later." He must be a secret subscriber to the PulseWave reports because I gave you the crash alert on the dollar days ago. And last night we re-examined another leg down that is in the works. Now they want to come out and talk about it a day late and the dollar short. Where were you? Or if I can quote my man, Micro Mini Pimp, where was your antennas when the dollar was giving up support? Their money couldn't buy a movement. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez taunts Wall Street after triumphing over her billionaire-backed primary opponent. There is no price tag for having people who are animated by the courage of their convictions and by a desire for a better world. They have a way with words, don't they? You can have courage of your convictions and still be deadly wrong. All right. And what does the word better world mean? What is your idea of a better world? What is your definition of a better world? Oh, I know. It's where you control everything. That's what it is. They want to control everything. Remember, you cannot trust the Democratic Party. Neither can you trust the Republican Party. But you sure enough can't trust that Democratic Party. We've already exposed their ties to the Ku Klux Klan and other nefarious entities, better known as the New World Order, the Deep State, blah, blah, blah. Brazil's central bank killed WhatsApp's new payment system a week after it launched. A source familiar with the matter told Bloomberg the central bank's announcement took WhatsApp by surprise. Toyota holds $293 million stake in Uber. Governance reports shows. The automaker said it reduced its shareholdings in 24 companies and increased them in 10. Again, moving money around, thus causing algo shifts. Singapore telecoms operators select Nokia Ericsson to build 5G networks. The company said they were also exploring other network parts with China's Huawei and ZTE. Global stocks are mostly down in Europe. Germany's DAX fell 1.8%, Britain's FTSE 100 fell 2%, and the Euro Stoxx 50 fell 1.6%. In Asia, China's Shanghai Composite rose 0.3%, Hong Kong Hang Seng fell 0.5%, and Japan's Nikkei fell 0.1% at the close. In the U.S., futures underlying the Dow, the S&P, the NASDAQ, and the Russell fell between 0.3 and 0.8%. On the economic front, the Energy Information Administration's crude oil stocks change, and a speech from Federal Reserve FOMC member James Bullard are due. I do not know if anything that Bullard's going to say is going to be market moving at this point due to what we already know. So I don't know on that one. Not sure. Let me check something right quick. Just want to measure something in the market. Just want to see. Oh, wow. Okay. I did not realize that the margins were so tight on the gold this morning. Hold on. Let's see. All right. Interesting. Interesting. All right. The margins seem pretty tight at second glance on gold this morning. All right. I'm not really seeing an alert. Just bear with me a second. I'm just looking at something real quick. All right, there's the opening bell for those of you that need to place some tickets and handle some business. You best be about doing that right quick, as today's market is suspect. I don't know if the bulls are going to try to squeeze out one more rally before it comes toppling down or what. So best be on your guard. Just give me one other moment. I'm almost finished my scan here while we talk. I don't know if some of you have noticed, but there are times when we are live here and the markets will go ahead and start doing what they do. And then we talk about it. In most cases, brag about it. See, I told you, I warned you. And that's kind of fun too, if you like doing that sort of thing. All right, so I'm looking here over the past couple days, and yeah, the markets have been starting to chop around the highs. So yeah, the nighttime analysis that has been giving out, it does look like I have been very correct. Like for real, for real. So I'm going to look at one other thing. Bear with me before we get deep. Go ahead and grab your coffee. Do what you got to do. Get comfortable, ladies and gentlemen. You know how we do things here. We don't play. We do not play. We go in. So while you're getting your cup of coffee, your tea, whatever, go ahead and get comfortable. All right, get comfortable. And get your boots, get dressed because we're about to go out deep in these woods. All right, here, let's see. Yeah, it's looking interesting this morning. I'm doing a few things here. Just doing some housekeeping. All right, I'm looking at gold and I'm looking at the Russell, just so y'all know, in case you're wondering what is he doing. That's exactly what he's doing. All right. Yeah, reassessing something before we get started. All right. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. All right. One other thing, and I think I'll be ready to get busy. All right. What I'm watching right now specifically is how gold is moving and how the Russell is moving. These two seem to be in sync with market leadership. So I'm thinking that they're both about to give up the ghost. Let me see if I'm right. I'm going to put out a feeler here in gold first because I want to see, is it about to give up the ghost Has it topped out? Are we not going to see 1800? I'm just curious. So let's see. I want to see. Okay, so all right, bear with me. This is a real test this morning. I don't believe the market, so I'm going to test it, and we're going to see. We're about to see. We're about to see. Like I said, I don't believe it. And when you don't believe something, you got to test it. You're saying, I don't believe you, Mr. Market. Prove yourself. And yes, for those of you who may think that it's strange, our primary thing that we do here is trade. So don't think it's strange if in the middle of a broadcast, your boy is over here, you know, moving and shaking, because that's just what we do. And I want to see what the market got in it. I just want to see. I'm just curious. I want to see if what I am looking at is correct. Are we going to get an algo shift today? That's what I'm thinking. We're going to get one today, possibly even during the broadcast. So I'm just preparing for that. Okay, 6, 2, 7. Hold on. All right. I think I got it on and popping now. Let's see if I'm right. Sometimes you have to use certain contingencies too when you're testing the strength or weakness of the market. Right now, I'm testing both. I want to test and see, have we topped out right now as I'm speaking in the equity market and gold? So I'll know in a few minutes if that is the case. All right. Take a look at the PulseWave price trigger reports. Specifically, remember what I told you, when I trade futures, I use my handwritten stuff. All right, so for those that are keeping score, the gold has just triggered. All right, I'm testing the gold short. I want to test the strength of today's momentum. All right, so if the market explodes higher, then I'll get my answer on where we're going and I can measure the move. But right now, weakness is showing in gold right now, okay? And it's looking like it's topped out. So I have to put that there for you guys so you know what I'm talking about. Now I'm also testing the Russell to see what it does. That's going to be the next test. I'll let you guys know what happens, but sometimes we do that. Sometimes right in the middle of things, I get I'll see something and then I'll go ahead and we'll trade. All right. I don't know what the thing with what ZTE is. I'm not sure. It could be 5G China. I'm not sure. Not sure at all, my man. All right. All right. We're gonna let some of these things marinate. We're gonna let it marinate. Remember the first hour of trading, the markets tend to be choppy until about 10:30, and then that's when the direction or trend will be established for the day. So this is a real test this morning. This is very significant. This is going to prove and show where we really are with things right now. More specifically, I'm looking to see if the overnight highs will be taken out in both gold and the Russell. I need to see not just if they get taken out, but I need to see how they get taken out if they do get taken out. I have to see how it's going to happen, because that's going to be very telling on where we go from here. It can't spike it. It has to really blow it out and keep going, and then it needs to close above it by today's close. So what I'm looking to see is the Russell and is gold going to take out the overnight highs and close above it? If it fails to do that, then my analysis is correct, and we're going to see a landslide race to the downside. All right, so you heard it here first. We're going to see if I'm seeing what the market's ready to do. All right. Hope you got your coffee. Hope you're sitting down. Hope you're comfortable. Have you got your big boy pants and big girl pants on, because we're about to get in it, about to get deep. We're about to examine some more things that we need to examine, because it's just what we do. All right. Now, you heard the overnight news report, right? You heard that. And you heard how the big boys are net short the market, and they're ready to get it on and popping to the downside. They're shorting all of this. They believe that we're doomed. All right. They believe that. And when we talk about the elite, when they believe something, they put their money behind it. All right. So let's examine what's really good. All right. So this is looking at a few works. This one is by Bruce Wilds. So let's see what's up. All right. The images of protest and violence that fill viewing screens across the globe underline the fact that we are not on the way to nirvana, a state of idyllic peace and happiness. All right. That's what it's showing us right now. All right. We got beef in these streets. Things are stirring up. It's becoming apparent that many people are not interested in work or doing their fair share, just for the sake of adding to the overall health and well-being of the community. This is the fatal flaw in the socialist theory. Adding to the problem is the human animal by nature, while considered a social creature, seems unable to agree on much of anything. This, of course, extends to how we live, goals, and even the kind of lifestyle we wish to live. Once again, the fatal flaw in the socialist theory is that most people are unwilling to work or contribute their fair share. All right. They don't care about the overall health and well-being of their community. They only care about themselves. And because of that, that's why that no work. Okay, so excuse me. All right, Vincent is a song by Don McLean, written as a tribute to Vincent van Gogh. It is also known by its opening line, quote, "Starry, starry night," end quote, which is a reference to Van Gogh's 1889 painting. The song by Don McLean, in some ways, is an ode to idealists everywhere. If you're an idealist, this song is for you. The lyrics are a comparison to Van Gogh's actual life. They take us on a musical journey from Van Gogh's vantage point, looking out from the asylum of Saint Remy. History shows Van Gogh to have been a troubled soul that lived in torment and spending time in the mental asylum, where he painted mainly from his room or the courtyard garden. Later, he went further afield to paint. Van Gogh attempted suicide by shooting himself in the chest, which ultimately led to his death 2 days later. All right, so death by suicide from a mentally ill individual. Remember what I said to you guys yesterday. High intellect, intelligence does not always equal character and integrity. As a matter of fact, I said to you yesterday that most sociopaths, psychopaths, are people of great intellect, but zero character and integrity. That's hard for some people to wrap their head around, but it is the truth. One thing that seems to be reasonable and customary in this life is that no one gets away with murder. Let me explain what that means. You're not going to have it all. Don't think you're going to be born with brains and beauty and strength and riches and all these great things. Usually they're trade-offs, okay? You may be, blessed with muscles like He-Man, but you're not going to have the intellect of a Nikola Tesla, okay? You may be the most beautiful woman that walked the face of the earth, but you better believe there's going to be a thorn in the flesh to keep one grounded. Everyone has a cross to bear. Everyone has a struggle. You may be gifted with a brain like Brainiac from the Legion of Doom, but you may have frail bones. Okay, you're just not going to get it all. It's not going to be that way. And to whom much given, much is required anyway. So there's usually something to keep you grounded and keep you humble. You just don't get it all. It just doesn't happen. So when you look at the genius of a Van Gogh, understand that he also struggled with mental illness and he ultimately took his own life. All right. So I know people say at times, well, if I had it like that, I wouldn't have done this, I wouldn't have done that, which is a lie. You don't know because you are not having that. One person's struggle is not another person's struggle necessarily. But at the end of the day, you would have done the same thing, if not worse, because you weren't built for that. You weren't meant for that. So you would not have done anything different. You would have done worse because you're not built for it. So you can't say, well, if I would have had this or had that, then no, you have what you have because that's what you were built for. All right. You don't get to operate outside of yourself. You don't get to operate outside of your gifts, talents, and abilities. Everyone has their own thing, their own lane. All right. And you have to work with what you got. Well, same thing with Van Gogh. He could paint his behind off. But the opposite of that, what came along with that gift was depression. You feel me? So he was not able to overcome the depression part. Some people are able to work within the thorn in the flesh and overcome it to a point or learn to live with it, manage it a little bit better, but it still doesn't make it go away. Okay. You're not going to be the Apostle Paul with all these gifts and abilities and special close walk with the Most High and think that you ain't gonna have something to go with that. That thorn in the flesh didn't go nowhere. It stayed there. All right. It's just what it is, folks. You say you want this and that, but are you willing to suffer for it? Are you willing to pay the price for it? Nothing is given for free. There's a price to be paid. And the question is, are you willing to pay it? Now, I'm not talking about selling out. I'm not talking about selling your soul to the devil and joining the dark side, because that isn't free either. If you don't mind doing constant rituals and human sacrifices and a whole bunch of other wicked and disgusting things, if you don't mind that, then I guess that's the lane for you. But if you want to do things the godly way, if you want to do things the right way, all right, then you know which road you got to travel. That's the one less traveled. That's the narrow road. And yes, that is full of challenges in and of itself. It isn't free either. All right. Regardless of what lane you choose to go down, it's not free. It's just not. There's still prices to be paid. All right. There's still crosses to bear, debts to be paid, and everyone pays. At the end of the day, everyone pays. No one gets to go for free. All right. And that's everything in life, such as life. All right. Sometimes the most expensive things that you think are free are really not free. They're extraordinarily expensive. You just don't realize how expensive they are until you get involved in it. But then it's too late to turn back. Sometimes there's no turning back. Well, Vincent van Gogh, however, is among the most famous and influential figures in the history of Western art. In just over a decade, the Dutch post-impressionist painter created about 2,100 pieces of artwork. This includes around 860 oil paintings. Many of these were done during the last 2 years of his life. They included landscapes, still lifes, portraits, self-portraits. Starry, Starry Night is the most famous. Most people are unaware of the fact that Van Gogh was never famous as a painter during his own lifetime and constantly struggled with poverty. He sold only one painting while he was alive. You heard it right. He sold only one painting while he was alive. One. Not 10. One. Not 100. One. That's it. Think about that. Think about that for a minute. Let that marinate. One painting. All right. It's crazy, man. Crazy. Just one painting? Really? Well, such is life. Okay. Life is full of lessons, and many of them are learned from the harsh reality that slaps us in the face from each day. One of these is that a vocal minority can create chaos. Another is that those with an agenda will often gain power by devoting a great deal of their energy to that goal. After gaining power, these people justify the actions they take by saying they serve the greater good or they're doing God's work. For many of us that have seen too much, it has gotten to the point where we should think about lowering our expectations. The world will suddenly get better, because it is not. We're going from order to chaos. The second law of thermodynamics is in full effect, ladies and gentlemen, and there is no turning back. Case in point, your boy Fauci, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the doctor who has been on the take and in the pocket of Big Pharma pretty much for the entire bane of his existence. Dr. Anthony Fauci is the polarizing director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. All right? And he slammed everyday Americans for refusing to go along with authority on medical matters and accused people of amazing denial when it comes to his truth. Speaking on a podcast called Learning Curve, produced by the Department of Health and Human Services, Fauci charged that unfortunately there is a combination of an anti-science bias that people are for reasons that sometimes are, inconceivable and not understandable. They just don't believe science and they don't believe authority. No, we don't believe in your religion that you call scientism, but we do practice scientific method. And who said that you were an authority on anything? Quote, so when they see someone up in the White House, which has an air of authority to it, who's talking about science, that there are some people who just don't believe that, and that's unfortunate because, science is truth, Fauci asserted. It's amazing sometimes the denial there is. It's the same thing that gets people who are anti-vaxxers, you have to roll them under the bus with it, who don't want to get people vaccinated, even though the data clearly indicate the safety of vaccines, Fauci proclaimed, adding, that's really a problem, end quote. Where do we begin with that statement? Where do we begin? First of all, scientism is not truth. It's fiction. It's fairy tales. It's myths. All right, and legends. And it's not backed by scientific method at all. At all. Again, labeling people an anti-vaxxer. People who say they don't want to take your poison are not anti-vaxxers. I am not anti-vaccinations and vaccines. I think vaccinations and vaccines can and do work. Unfortunately, the ones that are given to the masses are not the ones that do work. They're the ones that make people sick and kill people and maim people. That's the problem that we have, sir. And the other problem we have with that, sir, is that you give carte blanche license to the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and then you back them up and say, we're going to make you immune from prosecution if people get hurt so that they can't sue. You don't ever need to do that if what you're doing is so truthful and so factual and so scientific and so medically necessary. You don't do that with any other industry. You don't make Betty Crocker immune to lawsuits if people get sick after using the product. You don't do that to the Keebler cookies. All right, the Keebler elves are not protected by law if people get sick eating their nasty cookies. All right, you don't do that with anyone else, no other industry, just a pharmaceutical industrial complex. If everything is so good with the medicine, why are you making them immune from prosecution? Why are you making them immune from lawsuits? You don't do that with tobacco. You don't do that nowhere else. See what I'm saying? They only do that to cover themselves because they know that what they're doing is wrong and they know that what they're doing doesn't work and they just want to make a ton of money and then they want to pass laws and legislations making it illegal for you not to follow along with what they're saying. We know best for you. We know what's best for you. Do this or you will suffer violence. Who does that in a righteous way? No one. Because it's not righteous. It's evil. Mr. Fauci. That's why we don't believe you, Mr. Fauci. How do you explain to us, Mr. Fauci, that chemicals that people have to put on a full body hazmat suit to handle is good and safe inside of your body? You can't explain that. Why is it that chemicals that require a full body hazmat suit, the same kind that you will wear in a level 4 facility, how is that good for ingestion in food products, Mr. Fauci, since you're such an authority? Let me see you eat a hamburger full of formaldehyde and lighter fluid and Play-Doh. And while you're at it, why don't you put some mercury in your Coca-Cola and drink it in front of everybody? Since all this stuff is all right. Why don't you take some fluoride and add that to your Coca-Cola too, Mr. Fossey, and let us watch you drink that live on TV? Saying, see, everything is okay. Because you know good and well it's not okay. You poison everything that you touch. The food is poisoned. That's why people are sickly and obese. It makes it seem like people are overeating, but in fact, they're not. You just pump all of the foods full of hormones and you irradiate all the fruits and vegetables till there's no protein left. There's no nutritional value left, Mr. Authority. That's why we don't believe you, Mr. Authority. I digress. Perhaps the real reason Americans don't trust Mr. Fossey is that he's constantly flip-flopped and contradicted himself on the quote-unquote truth for months. The man also exudes authoritarianism and clearly has a problem with anyone who questions his so-called superiority. Fossey also has a long history of being the front man for a network of powerful big pharma and big medicine interests pushing vaccines and medicines in a clear conflict of interest. Following Fossey's blamescaping, the anti-science bias of implicitly ignorant Americans, Theo Capital MD Eric Weinstein unleashed a barrage of uncomfortable truths on Twitter. Quote, how dare this man? Do you want to know why they are learning to hate scientists for real, Dr. Fossey? Because your group lies about science and your ilk drove the truth-telling scientists out of their rightful places inside the institutions, calling BS on your lying about masks. Next quote. Mr. Eric Weinstein wrote, scientists like me who don't go along with cowards and crowds cannot disrupt your group's lives because we are outside. Imagine if I was tweeting from the National Science Foundation or MIT. It would be a national news story about how your cabal lies and degrades faith in science. And when he says science, he's talking about scientific method, not scientism. And then he gives more information when he says, my issue with lying about masks and PPE, personal protective equipment. Then he gives a link. Then he goes on to say, but you prattle on. We will one day find out later that you suspected all along that the Wuhan BSL4 virology lab might well be involved, but that you didn't say so for this or that political reason. Because you aren't a scientist, you play one. You are an MD turned actor. Wow. Wow. Then he says, when I agree with the conclusions of your institutional pseudoscience cabal, you cheat to get to our shared conclusion on vaccines, viruses, climate, etc. So you want people to believe in science again? Okay, call yourself out. Admit that your crowd lied about our masks. And not to put too fine a point on it, your group is sitting in chairs reserved for people who don't do what your cabal just did. You just don't have what it takes, sir. I'm sorry. But science isn't acting. It's not a beauty pageant. It's not politics. Science requires courage. End quote. Wow. He tore Fossey a new one, didn't he? And everything he said was absolutely true, 100%. 100%. He just tore him up. And it's true. But this is the world we're living in. Truth is not allowed. You are not allowed to tell the truth. You are not allowed. All right? You're just not. You got to go with whatever they say. More evidence that things are falling apart at the seams and that the so-called elite know it. Oh, they know. They know full well. One second. All right, so I don't know why they think that people are just dumb, stupid, and ignorant, because that's not really true at all. And because of all of this nonsense and gobbledygook, thanks to the elite, we are now at the lowest point in modern history. The U.S. has fallen apart, ladies and gentlemen. Things have certainly gotten really crazy in 2020, have they not? First, we witnessed the eruption of the worst global pandemic in 100 years. Then the U.S. economy started collapsing. And then we watched major U.S. cities burn from coast to coast as rioting and looting spiraled out of control. Everywhere you look, people are very angry and deeply frustrated. Nearly 46 million Americans have filed for unemployment benefits over the past few months, and fear of COVID-19 continues to paralyze our society to a frightening extent. But can this really be called the lowest point in modern U.S. history? According to one recent survey, a whopping 72% of all Americans actually believe that this is the lowest point in the country's history that they've ever been alive to see. Across two polls, more than 5,000 adult U.S. residents were recently surveyed on the state of America right now. A staggering 83% say that worrying about the future of the United States is a big source of personal stress. Also, 72% believe this is the lowest point in the country's history that they've ever been alive to see. That appears to be quite a consensus. Of course, many of those that were alive during the Great Depression of the 1930s and the early days of World War II would strongly argue that what we are experiencing today is nothing compared to what they had to deal with. And without a doubt, the 12 years from 1968 to 1980 were not easy years by any stretch of the imagination, just like now. Americans of that era were facing great civil unrest, tremendous economic problems, major political shaking, and a global pandemic that killed a lot of people. If you don't know about that pandemic, just Google the flu pandemic of 1968. Having said all that, there's definitely a case to be made for 2020. Not even during the Great Depression did we ever see the kind of apocalyptic spike in unemployment that we have witnessed this year. Even though nearly 46 million Americans have already filed for unemployment benefits since the COVID-19 pandemic began, big firms continue to lay off thousands upon thousands of workers. On top of that, more than 100,000 businesses have already permanently closed their doors. I'll say it again. More than 100,000 businesses have already permanently closed their doors. And Americans have already skipped payments on more than 100 million loans. Americans have skipped payments on more than 100 million loans. As I explained the other day, the most severe pain from this economic downturn won't even begin to hit us until about 6 weeks from today. As emergency government assistance starts to fade, an increasing number of Americans will have a very difficult time keeping up with paying the bills. In fact, another new survey has found that about half of all homeowners are worried about making future mortgage payments. Yes, worried about making future mortgage payments. Concerned, worried, worried. New research offers a glimpse into struggling households. Discovers out of the 2,000 American homeowners polled, over a half, 52% of respondents say they're routinely worried about making future mortgage payments, and nearly a half, 47%, considered selling their home because of the inability to service mortgage payments. The study, conducted by One Poll and the National Association of Realtors, determined 81% of respondents had experienced unexpected financial stress due to the virus-induced recession. Over a half, 56%, reduced spending so they could service mortgage payments. Meanwhile, fear of COVID-19 is going to continue to paralyze our society for the foreseeable future. I don't know if you've taken a look at the numbers lately, but the truth is that the number of confirmed cases in the US is starting to surge again. For the planet as a whole, Friday was the worst day of the pandemic so far by a very wide margin. And that means that this crisis is a long, long way from over. There are already whispers that there may be new lockdowns here in the United States. I seriously hope that that does not happen, because that would be another crippling blow for our collapsing economy. And the virus just continued to spread during the first round of lockdowns anyway. On top of everything else, more rioting, looting, and violence could erupt at literally any moment. Since this is an election year, tensions are going to be running even higher than usual, and even a relatively minor spark could cause another round of major civil unrest. But as bad as things are right now, what most people don't understand is that this is just the beginning. As I've warned so many times before, we have entered a time when we are going to be facing one crisis after another. And this is going to be true no matter what happens during the election in November. We've reached a moment in history when all the cycles are ending, all the bubbles are bursting, and we're going to experience the consequences of all the very foolish decisions that we have been making for decades. At this point, the immediate outlook is so bleak that it is turning all sorts of people into raging pessimists. For example, Wolf Richter just posted an article in which he explained why he just shorted the entire stock market. Quote, "I am sharing this trade so that everyone gets to ridicule me and hail me as a moron and have fun at my expense in the comments for weeks and months every time the market goes up. And I do not recommend shorting this market. It's nuts. But here's why I did. The stock market had just gone through what was termed the greatest 50-day rally in history. The S&P 500 index had skyrocketed 47% from intraday low on March 23rd, which was 2192, to the close on June the 8th, which is 3232. It was a blistering, phenomenal rally. Since June the 8th, the market has gotten off track, but not by much. It's still a phenomenal rally, and it came during the worst economy in my lifetime," end quote. Now, I know that a lot of people will criticize him for making such a move, but I applaud him for his bravery. Even in his time, if his timing turns out to be a bit early, I certainly concur with him that this latest Fed fueled bubble will inevitably burst. But ultimately, we're going to be facing problems that are much more severe than a stock market crash. In fact, a market crash will be among the least of our problems because it isn't just our economy that is collapsing. Our entire society is in the process of imploding. And if you don't like 2020, then you really aren't going to like what is going to happen in 2021 and beyond. No, ma'am, no, sir, you're not going to like it one bit. But there is a reason for it. What you may not be aware of is that it is the elites that are revolting, ladies and gentlemen. You heard me right. The elites are revolting. You can say that the age of man is over. Now is the time for the orc. That is exactly what is happening. Our establishment is revolting, in fact. What you see out there is our alleged betters struggling mightily to hold on to power that we normal people dared to wrest away from them in 2016. One component of their campaign is the burning and looting information operation conducted by black-clad pawns. The other component is the soft power corporate media cultural conspiracy to silence dissent and enforce fearful conformity to their narrative. Usually, a revolution is conducted by the peasants to throw off a tyrannical ruling class. Here, the ruling class is waging a political and cultural war to retake and then tighten its grip on the masses. They are no longer even pretending to seek the consent of the governed. And once they retake power, that's it. They will never give up power again. Wake up, people. It's the elite who are doing the revolting. They're using you pawns, you Black Lives Matter, you Antifa people. They're using you. And once they get what they want, they're going to clamp down on every single last one of you and throw you all into FEMA camps. You think I'm playing, you think I'm lying, you just wait and see. Everyone who participated in these riots are going to be locked up. You don't think they know who you are? You don't think George Soros is going to turn over all the information on all the protesters he paid money to? You don't think they're going to put all of you guys in FEMA camps and label you guys as domestic terrorists? You don't think that that's what's going to happen? You don't think those that control Black Lives Matter movement aren't going to throw all of you under the bus as well and give names, phone numbers, and addresses of everyone that was a part of their organization? Excuse me. You don't think so? They're going to lock all of you up. You are what they call useful idiots. I'm not being mean. I'm just trying to help you. Don't fall for it. But I'm sorry, you already have. You already have. This is about casting off the tyranny of you having rights and interests that get in the way of the best and the brightest doing whatever they want to you. A continuing theme in the book, The 21 Biggest Lies About Donald Trump and You. All right. And that's authored by Kurt Schlichter. And a key component of this cynical plot is systematically denying you the protection of norms and laws, all while subjecting you to them where it benefits the elite. Let's review. Remember free speech. That was fun while it lasted. Oh, it still exists to the extent that you may speak freely as long as your free speech conforms to the establishment narrative. Do you feel like you can say whatever you think freely without restraint? Or do you experience a twinge of fear of the consequences if you get online and state that no, you don't support the Marxist goals of Black Lives Matter? If so, their plan is working. You are supposed to be afraid and intimidated. And while the endless list of people canceled, abused, and fired from jobs because they refused to toe that line and bow to the mob serves to outrage us, it also serves to teach us that there is a fearsome price to be paid for failing to go along and cheer the emperor's new duds. Remember the big lie that Trump is the great destroyer of norms? What about the norm of free speech? Not the First Amendment, that's a constitutional guarantee. It's the norm, the general consensus that people will not be punished for their views, even outside the law. That's dead and not at the hand of the Donald. Maybe you can appeal to support to the neutral truth tellers of the media, the brave firefighters who ensure the little guy gets a fair shake. Nah, our garbage media is dedicated to reinforcing the status quo instead of conforming and confronting the afflicted and afflicting the comfortable. It afflicts the afflicted and sucks up to the comfortable. Remember, the mainstream media, ladies and gentlemen, is an extension of the US government. Yes, the mainstream media is part of the government. That's why the government writes their scripts and gives it to them every day, and they have to read from a teleprompter. They don't get to talk independent of the teleprompter or they will be fired. But hey, maybe academia will stand up for truth, justice, and equality. And maybe you just took an enormous bong hit. Okay? Then the objective science people of science will tell us the truth because science is important and science is scientific, and they surely would never get involved in politics. Except they lie about global warming and about masks and about vaccines. And they give a free pass to woke protests while scolding those gnarly and probably racist Ozark pros about how they pool party will become an orgy of death. Oh, I can't believe you're not social distancing. You're having a pool party. You're all going to die. Never mind that a month on, there's still no pile of flu corpses to point at. Well, at least our military remains above the fray, right? Oops. In an era where our Navy ships can't keep from running into other boats and turbaned banditos continue to roam freely through the Hindu Kush after 2 decades, we see the chairman of the Joint Chiefs appear on video to apologize for appearing in public with the guy we just elected, his commander in chief. The military cannot be political. The guys who can't win a war tell us as they become super political. The Chi-Coms who have a serious military, unlike the shameful, frivolous ones, would be wise to time their inevitable, devastating sneak attack for when our armed forces are on a 3-day diversity trained stand down. If only our armed forces had a recent track record of victory to match its track record of wokeness. Are you guys getting a clue yet? Do you see what's going on? You better wake up because this is not a game, ladies and gentlemen. This is crazy. Let's see here. Excuse me. All right, so I've just been told that um just been told that We do have a live today going on at 11 o'clock. All right, that's what's up. All right, that's what's up. All right, so I guess we're going to be doing a little bit of live stuff, live trading, live markets. All right, so let's wrap this up. How about our police? We've seen some signs of pushback like in Atlanta, but if they won't even protect their station house from the woke mobs, are they going to protect your house? And don't think some are not eager to join in the petty excuse me, oppression. How many cops obediently hassled mommies for letting their kids play outside during the pandemic panic? You guys saw the videos. You know you saw it. And don't think you can rely on constitutional guarantees. Yes, you can have guarantees all day long, and they don't mean a thing unless they're enforced by the courts. Do you see the courts enforcing your rights? Look at Chief Justice John Roberts, and his antics. Yeah, sure. The DACA is one preferred president creating a law via decree that overrides an actual law. You know, one of those I'm just a bill laws, but it can't be undone by a subsequent non-preferred president. Huh? Oh, and remember your right to worship. You might think that a right to practice your religion means some bureaucrat can't ban church while clapping like a trained seal as thousands of woke protesters mix and mingle. But no, according to Souder, the First Amendment, the First Amendment doesn't make your silly Jesus hootenanny special, even though it expressly does. Why? Your church can be treated just like a movie theater or bowling alley. That is, much worse than, say, massive political donor Walmart. What are the chances that the Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice grown in office, would again construe the Second Amendment's admonition that the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed to mean the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed? We should be glad that the Supreme Court hasn't taken up a gun case in a decade. And forget about equal justice under criminal law. It's dual justice. Felonia Millhouse Von Pantsuit commits crimes that would get you locked up, but she gets a pass. McCabe, Brennan, Clapper, Comey, and the rest lie and walk free, while Mike Flynn commits no crime and has to fight the power to even get a dismissal of a plea obtained by the rankest excuse me, prosecutor misconduct. Rioters and criminals get released with a wave and a smile. Cops get threatened with death row for fighting back when a career criminal tries to taser them. It's all a lie and a scam. This is all part and parcel of a strategy to strip us of any kind of refuge or recourse from abuse. We cannot look to the marketplace of ideas to make our case because our case has been declared verboten. The institutions are arrayed against us. The law means nothing because it will not be enforced neutrally. So why again do we consider ourselves bound by the social contract the establishment has been using like Charmin? What we are seeing is the elite's ruthless pursuit of power. We stripped from them back in 2016 when we made the Hillary fans cry. And since then, despite it all, we have made progress. Some good judges, no more wars, trade realism with China, but this is intolerable to the leftist establishment. We the people must be overthrown. Now the question is whether we the people are going to let that happen. It's getting real out here, folks. It is getting real. All right? It is getting real. Question is, what are we going to do about it? And with that being said, everyone, don't forget to smash that like button. Don't forget to go to PulseWaveTrading.com so you can break some bread with us and all that good stuff. And remember, at 11 o'clock, we got the live trading webinar. So go to PulseWaveTrading.com so you can register for that. And remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I am out. Peace.